Thank you very much, sir. I think so, Murti sir, I request that this question answer session be taken over by you.
But do I have access to those questions?
Yeah, it is on the right hand side.
Or you mean, oh, show question and answer.
Yeah.
Uh, Let me scroll through. Uh, Dr. Glenn, the first question is from Dr. Manish Bhatnagar. What is the ground realities of the Constitution for the Federation of Earth?
The ground realities, um, I'm not sure exactly what that means. Um,
Possibly he's saying about the, I mean, convenience of implementation of this transformation. I mean, how effectively it can be achieved.
well, the under Article 17 of the Constitution, it specifies the conditions for ratification. And one of the strengths of the Article 17 is that it divides the ratification process into three stages. So there's a first operative stage that is reached when 25 nations have ratified. And there's some flexibility in what the criteria for the first stage is, uh, but there's once that happens, there's an operative stage, and the things that take place during that operative stage are described in Article 17. And then when 50% of the nations, the people of Earth, have ratified, a second stage of implementation takes place. And then when 90% have ratified, there's a third stage. So that, in conjunction with the article that I mentioned earlier in Article 19, which gives us the right and the duty to begin the Provisional World Parliament and begin Provisional World Government here and now, so that we can elaborate it and get it going and have it operating. In doing that, communicate to the people of Earth what's going on and why we need the Constitution. Between these two articles, I think there's a real firm groundwork for how we can move forward and make this happen.
Thank you. Now the next question is from Pragnya Sarangi. The question is how to execute these strategies in this global pandemic situation.
Yeah, I think the global pandemic has helped illustrate for many people the failure of the current world system. In fact, we all may have seen the recent statement by the Pope, right? The Pope has said that the global capitalist system is very problematic because its failures have been exposed by the pandemic, right? The people that are hurting in the world are the poor. The people that are losing their jobs are the poor, and so on. But those who have the investments and so on don't seem to be in danger right now because of the pandemic. And the Pope also said that the nations, right, who uh, have competed with one another and been hostile to one another and have not cooperated with one another in dealing with this pandemic, they again show the weaknesses of a world system. So the Pope has called for a transformed world system, and I think that this is our opportunity, because we have a lot of people like this saying that the world can't go on like it has been, with the threat of these pandemics, threat of nuclear war hanging over us, and so on. Now is the time, and we at the Earth Constitution Institute and WCPA are initiating a global initiative So we hope that before long, that the idea of the Earth Constitution will be there in the consciousness of most of the people of our Earth. You know, we're getting the word out very rapidly, and so I think that's the way to go. And I invite anybody who's interested to look at the website and see, sign the Constitution and become a world citizen under its authority and promote it.
Thank you, sir. There is a request from Dr. Manu to seeking Facebook link. So from our side, we'll facilitate it. We will share the link to Dr. Tyagi, so which can be shared with Dr. Manu. And there are two questions from Professor Vivek Vyas from IABM. The first one is, please share your views on the role of social engineering in cultural peace.
Social engineering. I'm not sure exactly what that refers to. It sounds like social engineering has a certain negative connotation to it in my thought, that you've got people in power somehow changing the social dynamics in order to engineer peace or something like that. But I think it goes deeper. I think that if we have institutional arrangements that make peace possible, like the Constitution for the Federation of Earth, like a global economy predicated on the common good and the environmental protection rather than on the private accumulation of wealth for the 1% who have all the money right now. If we have these kind of institutions, rather than social engineering, the consequence will be social transformation. Right? People are transformed by the institutions under which they live. They're influenced by these. If you grow up in a capitalist competitive environment, you're going to be thinking, how can I compete in this world? How can I get ahead? How can I? And if you grow up under institutions which already promote democratic and cooperative relationships among people, then no one will have to engineer anything. It'll be a product of the institutional structure under which you're living. So I don't know if that addresses this question or not, but that's what comes to mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is a supplementary. Please share how you see traditional Indian culture in providing a base for global peace. This is an interesting question.
It is, and I'm not the person to ask about traditional Indian culture, although I've been to India many times and I love India, and and with great sadness, our good friend Swami Yajnavidh just passed away, as many of you know, and I mentioned earlier what he took his stand on, Vaisudhaiva Kutumbakam, which is so fundamental. In fact, even Prime Minister Modi mentioned that in his UN speech. Right? He said, India has always been concerned with the good of the world in its foreign policy because we come from a culture of Vaisudhaiva Kutumbakam. Right? And if that's what you mean by traditional Indian culture, I think it's very fundamental to moving the world toward peace. But it's got to be institutionalized, and that's why Swami Yajnavidh himself, once he found out about the Earth Constitution, became a primary advocate for its ratification, because a cultural ideal is not sufficient. We've got to have institutional embodiment as well.
Thanks, Dr. Martin. With your permission, I'll just add a thought from Indian side for this question. We are taking these traditional Indian values to all the countries around the world. Interestingly, for everyone who is listening, India is the hub of activity now which Dr. Glen Martin will agree, and WCPA and ECI with all our senior team members like Dr. Talesra and others, we are going out outreaching everywhere. So Indian culture, Indian value system is more relevant in global peace. You will be happy to hear that we have now connected with people from Latvia, people from Indonesia, people from Afghanistan, people from Bangladesh. So if that itself will show an indication that Indian value system is acceptable world over, and we are making a steady progress on this. Thank you. Now I think we have one more question. I'll quickly. Uh, there is a question: how to apply peace and good condition in education field? That question is to you, Dr. Glen. How to apply peace and good condition in education field?
Well, I think that one of the things that's necessary for students is to try to help them consciously recognize their own dignity as human beings. We're always in interaction with students, and as I was saying before, this consciousness level, this subjective level, that makes us all uniquely human and gives us our common human dignity. It's something that needs to be grown into. Right? It isn't because in popular culture, in any country, you don't see that. You go on a computer and you play games, and the games are games of killing enemies and violent games and so on. And if you play Monopoly, this famous game, you try to put everybody else out of business and become rich yourself. So students need to have a sense of their own dignity, right? And they have to see that this dignity implies ultimately transformation. It implies both cultural transformation and institutional transformation. And that's what I think what I was talking about before, about the utopian horizon that arises in human consciousness. If we begin to be self-aware of how our minds operate and the transcendence that's built right into our human consciousness, I think it's absolutely fundamental. And to educators need to find ways to bring this into the awareness of their students.
Thank you. There is an interesting question: how to apply peace in present time, from Meenakshi Amita. How to apply peace in present time?
Well, I think that as I was saying, what we're doing in WCPA and ECI is trying to apply peace by getting people aware of the conditions that defeat peace, right, and showing them the conditions that are transformative, right, which include the Constitution for the Federation of Earth. But also, as I was saying earlier, there's all kinds of excellent peace thinkers who are talking about cooperative economics and sustainable economics and sustainable endeavors and so on, and grassroots empowerment. E.P. Menon, one of our members in India, has worked his life on the behalf of the working people of India on grassroots empowerment. And all these things are excellent, but to apply peace now requires a total integrated vision. We have to see that subjective peace and cultural peace and local peace are directly related to global peace, a global transformation of these institutions like global capitalism and sovereign nation states into a unified peace system under the Earth Constitution. So that's what I would say right now, that we have to have this global vision and translate it into everything we're doing on the concrete level.
Thank you, sir. I think that's all we have questions in this session. So thank you, sir, Dr. Martin, again for your valuable suggestions and inputs on this. On all our behalf, on behalf of India and on behalf of the world, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts today at this session. I now hand it over to Dr. Tyagi for further. Over to Dr. Tyagi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. Thank you, Dr. P.N. Murti, sir. Indeed, this keynote address, the way Dr. Martin has elaborated upon the various aspects, has been very enlightening and enriching experience for us to hear and ponder upon in times to come. And definitely the institutionalization of peace, as you said, there are various aspects that we need to deliberate upon. It's a topic that has initiated the spark of thought in all the viewers, and definitely we'll continue this in the future and be in touch. So with this informative session of today, I thank you all once again to the director of the webinar, Dr. Hemlata Talesra, who's the powerhouse of this entire webinar sessions, coordinating personalities not only from India but different countries, and the way she coordinates, manages, motivates. I think so she's an embodiment of peace. As the organizing secretary of this seminar, I have experienced the way she handles things. She actually is at peace, so she can convey that peace to the other fellow human beings. So if an individual, as Dr. Martin has very rightly said, it begins at the individual level. When you are at peace, you definitely deliver the same vibes around you. So with this word of thanks, I conclude today's session with permission of our director of the webinar, Dr. Hemlata, Professor Hemlata Talesra ma'am. And for our next fruitful session, for more deliberations and discussions, we end this session, that we meet tomorrow again on the same platform at 2 p.m. So be with us. Until then, stay safe, stay happy, stay at peace. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.